Good morning and welcome to Climate Matters, your City of Santa Fe sustainability radio show, coming at you every fourth Wednesday on Suave Radio. I'm your host, Neal Denton, sustainability planner for the City of Santa Fe. And for today's show, we'll be talking about the upcoming bike month in May. I'm joined with Matt Piccarello. He is the event director for Santa Fe Century. Good morning, Matt.
Morning, Neal. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. So tell us about Bike Month. What is Bike Month?
Yeah, so Bike Month is actually National Bike Month. So cities around the country will put their own spin on it, as we do here in Santa Fe. In general, it's just about encouraging people to get out on bikes. So maybe your bike's been sitting in storage all winter, and the weather's starting to turn nice. So just reminding people to hey, you got that bike in the garage, you might want to pull it out. And so whether it's for recreation or transport, just trying to encourage people to get out on bikes. Santa Fe is really a great place for riding a bike, and so we've got some events lined up that highlight that. So in general, I think just wanting more people on bikes, I think that's good for all of us. More visibility for cyclists. So National Bike Month also includes National Bike to Work Day and Bike to School Day. So National Bike to School Day is May 5th, and then National Bike to Work Day is the 21st. So that's focusing more on that, hey, you can use a bike to get where you're going. You don't always have to jump in the car. So those are two big highlights for that.
Right,
That's
we do have some good trail systems in Santa Fe for people to get around, and some lesser traveled roads that are safer to get around. If it might be a little dangerous to go down Cerrillos, but take some of the side roads to get to where you're going. And Santa Fe is a really good place to ride bikes. I, for one, grew up in Dallas, where you have the 3-lane roads going each way, just dominated by cars, and it's practically impossible to ride a bike unless you have to drive somewhere with your bike to a trail. Mm-hmm. So glad to be in a city where it's a lot easier to ride. I've been riding a lot more lately. I've been working from home during COVID, which makes it easier to get on the bike. And I'm getting a little bit older, so when I'm jogging for my exercise, my knees were hurting, my ankles were hurting, so I switched my exercise to the bike, and it's been great. I'm just loving it. So what are some things? We have some events planned for Bike Month. What are some things people can do in the month of May?
Yeah, I guess first I would encourage listeners to check out SantaFeBikeMonth.com. We've got events all through May. We'll continue to update that list. There are still some things that just say in planning and that we're working on. But I mentioned Bike to School Day on May 5th. So if you've got kids, maybe ride with them to school. Bike to Work Day on the 21st. So we've got a couple different volunteer opportunities in the month of May. So there's this really great program called Free Bikes for Kids, which actually also a national program, but recently it's been established in New Mexico. And so I think it was in the month of March that they had their bike collection drive, and they got over 1,000 used bicycles for kids. As your kid,
1,000.
Yeah, I think it was upwards of 1,200 or something like that. So
a lot of bikes.
People really came out and supported the program. And so the opportunities there are for just cleaning and fixing the bikes. So if you're not a bike mechanic, that's okay. You could be washing a bike. If you know how to change a flat tire, that's helpful. So those, I would highlight those on the calendar. There's a Southside Library cruise. So there's a lot of good bike trails. You could get almost all the way down to the south part of the city. And so that cruise there is going to highlight some of those trails. And there's also ice cream at the end. So that'll be fun.
All right.
Yeah, and then in addition to all the Bike Month stuff, there's a couple easy things you could do on your own. Maybe ride a little bit further than you ever have before. Use your bike for transport. If you're going out to dinner or going to run an errand or to work, maybe ride your bike instead of the car. Try to get in that habit of using your bike to get where you need to go. You mentioned trails. There's tons of trails in Santa Fe. So if there's a trail you haven't done before, try that. I just got a mountain bike. I'm normally on a road bike, and I've been blown away by the amount of trails you can hit right in town. I can't believe I've lived here 5 years and haven't hit a lot of those trails that are within a mile of downtown.
Those La Tierra trails are great for mountain biking. They're so well manicured, and and
Hmm.
the signs everywhere make it so easy to navigate. Some trails, if you were to just go out to the national forest and ride your mountain bike on a hiking trail or what have you, might be a lot of rocks to move around and whatnot, but not on those trails. Pretty much dirt to ride on. So I love riding out there. I'm not a person who buys things often. This interview just happens to be occurring when I bought a new mountain bike on Saturday. Had to go down to Albuquerque,
Hmm.
um, because that was the one bike in all of Santa Fe and Albuquerque that was my size. I called all like 30 shops and found
That's a
one,
common theme.
and
Yeah, bikes have
and it feels
exploded
great
during the
having a new bike. I feel like a kid on shortly after Christmas Day or what have you.
pandemic.
Just yesterday, I had to go on another ride, getting excited to get out there. Now my legs are killing me, but aside from just another way to get around, maybe you're saving on gas money or something like that. It's so much fun to be on a bike, even if you're just riding up and down the street, getting out there with your kids, doing one of these community rides could be a great way to to meet people in your neighborhood. You mentioned that Southside Library ride. Is that meeting? Or is it leaving from the library or going to the library?
I'm not 100% sure. On Bike Month on the website, there is if you click on each of the activities, that'll have more information. I think that one might still be lacking some info, but I think the point of that ride is there's trails that I didn't know about in the South Side that would let you get to different places, like we're talking about for transport. They're always putting in new little cut throughs. I know in my neighborhood, there's a cut through to the rail trail that you wouldn't know it was there unless someone had showed it to you. So I think that's part of that ride is just to show people. The south side of town they're working on more infrastructure for cycling. I know there's also another thing to mention. There's a Safe Routes to Parks grant program that
Right.
some local nonprofits in town were awarded. So yeah, I mean, all across town, south to north, wanting to make Santa Fe a place that you can bike safely to. So that ride will highlight some of those trails that people might not know existed to get from your house to the library, for example.
Yeah, I learned just yesterday from the Metropolitan Planning Organization here that the Rail Yard Park Conservancy got that Safe Routes to Park grant, and it's not
Hmm.
just for the Rail Yard Park. The evaluation and the spending will be done in some, around some Southside parks. Um,
Hmm.
that's great here, along with our Safe Routes to School grant that the Metropolitan Planning Organization and the city got, and in partnership with Santa Fe Public Schools, where we're looking at a number of schools to increase the safety of people who live around those schools, their ability to get to school on a bike. I've got a second grader myself, and
Hmm.
she goes to the El Dorado school. And we were pulling up in the car. We have to drive from far away, but she saw a kid showing up on a bike the other day, and she was blown away. She goes, "You can ride your bike to school? That is so cool!"
Hmm.
Might be the time to get your kid excited about it if you're within, I don't know, 4 miles. I would think a young child could do 4 miles to school, maybe
Yeah, I mean,
three. Um,
when you think about how long it takes you to get in the car and sit in traffic and get all loaded up, I mean, Santa Fe is not a big place. I mean, I think a lot of times riding a bike is faster. You don't have to sit in traffic. You don't have to park the car. There's a statistic I think is in the National Household Travel Surveys from back in like 2010 that 60% of car trips are less than a mile. So every time you jump in the car, you think like, wow, it would only take me maybe 5 extra minutes to do this on a bicycle. Especially school. I used to bike to when I was in grad school, and that like 15-minute debrief on the way home from work or school can be really nice, just to kind of de-stress from the day or from school.
can be really nice. I used to be in a position where I could ride my bike to work, and it was pretty much every inch of the way was uphill on the way there, which was great because it would wake me up better than a cup of coffee could. But going home was even better because I get to ride, feel that adrenaline rush of leaving work, riding downhill all the way home, and just have that excitement about going into the freer part of my day.
Yeah, the fun factor should not be overlooked. I mean, you save gas, it's healthier, all that stuff, but it's also just fun.
So you mentioned free bikes for kids and volunteer opportunities. So people can sign up right now to help, even if they're not bike mechanics, just to help clean the bikes, a spray bottle and a cloth. I think that they really need people to help with that, right?
Yeah, like any level of help. I don't know if the Free Bikes for Kids, if that program is linked in the website. I think it might be in Santa Fe Bike Month, but if you just Googled Free Bikes for Kids New Mexico, that'll take you to the website, and I believe there's a place there that you can sign up to go do some bike maintenance. I think there's also times listed on the Santa Fe Bike Month website that you could just go and show up and say, "I'm here to help."
That's great. Yeah, I was able to find the website pretty easily when I did a Google search. It looks like this Free Bikes for Kids is an organization that's bigger than New Mexico. There's now a New Mexico chapter, but this is a nationwide organization.
Yeah, I believe Specialized, the bike company, might be a funder of it, and then your local chapter, I guess, for lack of a better word, would sponsor or be a hub for Free Bikes for Kids. There's a matching component, so I believe they're still on the lookout for donations to hit that cash match in order to fully realize the grant. So if anybody wanted to chip in a couple bucks, that would help them out.
That's so great. And for people who are watching online, what you're seeing right now is the calendar of events at SantaFeBikeMonth.com. A lot of fun activities going on. We see here on the 5th, May 5th, is that Bike to School Day you mentioned. So, if you need to make some plans, figure out what routes you're going to take, what have you, you could start thinking about that now for, what is that, next Wednesday? Next Wednesday is Bike to School Day. And then Bike to Work Day later on in the month on May 21st. If you're in a position where you can ride your bike to work, could be a fun reason to do it and talk to your coworkers about doing it with you. And if you're not, if you're coming in from El Dorado or Espanola, remember you can put your bike on the front of the blue bus. It might be a fun day to try that. You might be able to get a little leeway from your supervisor to, if you have to arrive a little later, you could say it's Bike to Work Day. I'm trying something different. I'm going to be 30 minutes late that day if
Yeah.
that's what you need to do.
Even from El Dorado, I mean, there's the rail trail take you all the way into town.
Yeah,
I've
almost
had
quicker
I've had my
because it's on
wife
the
drop me
backside
off.
of El Dorado.
If you have a long, maybe you can only, if you've got a 10-mile one-way trip to work, you could have your partner or spouse, somebody drop you off, or like you said, take the bus with your bike on the front, and then maybe you just bike home, something like that.
Yeah, I'd really like to get an e-bike for that commute from the rail
Mm,
trail. Living in El Dorado, a lot of the time can be on the ride to just get to the road and go around to get to the
right.
interstate. But if you can go straight on the rail trail from the backside and use the electric motor in those e-bikes to help with the longer distance, that
Mhm.
it might be a little much if I was to do it just to do that every day for fun. That's one thing, but every day, first thing in the morning, might be a little far. But
Yeah.
bikes are great. They can do the work for you, and then you can pedal when you want to. And there's a store right there in El Dorado that sells e-bikes. If anyone wants
That's
to
right.
check it out,
Hmm.
Sleeping Bear, I believe it's called.
I think they specialize in
Um,
e-bikes, don't they? It's like one of their primary.
yeah, yeah, I think that's all they sell in there. It's in the La Tienda shopping center.
Mhm.
But you can find an e-bike at pretty much every bike shop, I believe. It might be a little different right now because the supply chain's been really hit hard as people started buying a lot of bikes while quarantining and remembering how fun it can be to get on a
Mhm.
bike, or maybe just using that to get to where they're going because they weren't hopping on the bus or the train anymore. Um, so this is the Climate Matters radio show. We're on Suave Radio once a month, every fourth Wednesday. I'm the City of Santa Fe Sustainability Planner, Neal Denton, and we're talking to Matt Piccarello at Santa Fe Century about next month being Bike Month and all the fun activities you can do to get on a bike in the month of May. So Matt, does the Santa Fe Century plan Bike Month, or who's responsible for putting all this together?
Yeah, the Century is a partner of Bike Month. The Century normally is in May, but we're pushing it to October because of COVID. We think that the situation will be better in October. But no, it's not just the Century by any stretch. There's a big group of folks, local nonprofits. You mentioned the MPO, City of Santa Fe. Um, yeah, I don't want to leave people out. And Bike Santa Fe, different bike shops around town. Generally, just people that like bikes and want to put something together and during Santa Fe Bike Month. And like I was saying, just encourage people to get out on bikes. So it's definitely a team effort. I think BTI, which is a bike, not exactly a bike shop, but a bike parts sourcing. And
Right.
I think they host
They're
the
out there by the
website.
community college.
Right. Yeah. So they deserve a lot of kudos for putting the website up. But yeah, no, it's a big group of folks. We meet monthly to go over, ideas for Bike Month and try to make sure that we have enough volunteers to staff the ideas that we come up with.
Right. And here on the screen for people watching on video, we're looking at SantaFeCentury.com. And Matt, for the listeners who don't know what a century is, can you just tell us a little bit about the
Sure.
Santa Fe Century?
Yeah. So the Santa Fe Century has been around since 1985. So this is going to be the 35th edition in 2021. A century is 100 miles. So it's sort of like the marathon equivalent of cycling, I guess, if I had to kind of give it an analog that people might be familiar with.
A lot of money.
I'd argue, having run a marathon and ridden 100 miles, that the 100 miles is slightly easier than the marathon. But the main point of our goal for the century is that it's open to everybody. So we've got this year we're gonna have a new family cruise. It's like, I think, a 4-mile loop from the rail yard that's totally free, all the way up to a 100-mile timed. We call it a Grand Fondo. So, and everything in between. There's a 25-mile route. There's a 50-mile route. And so, whether you just bought a bike and you don't have the like special pedals that clip in, and you don't own any Lycra, that's fine. You come out and ride the Century. It gives you something to shoot for and train for. And if you're the like serious cyclist that wants to do the race and do the 50 or 100-mile, or even if you're just getting into cycling and you're like, I want to test myself against the time, you can enter those events as well. So this year, the big thing about Century that we're really excited about, the change other than the date, is we're moving to the rail yard for our start finish line. So anybody that's been in the rail yard, it's a super cool venue. There's actually a new brewery going in, and they just opened another one, Bosque Brewing Company. And so there's like 6 restaurants and 3 breweries within hundreds of feet of the finish line. Which is great. So you get off your bike at 100 miles and you're ready to fall over, and you can literally just stumble over to grab a cheeseburger or something.
Yeah,
so we're really excited about that.
That beer can be a lot more rewarding after some serious exercise. I know after I go on a mountain biking trip, I like to have one at the car.
Part of the experience.
Definitely. Bikes and beer go well together. We used to, or I guess we still do, have a festival locally named after those two things, but I think they moved it to Glorieta. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're talking about Bike Month in the month of May. If you haven't already, decided, like so many Americans and dealing with quarantine, it's time to get on a bike. Now's the time to either dust off that old bike you have in the garage, or head down to a bike shop and check out what they have in stock. We have lots of good options in Santa Fe. About maybe five bike shops. All throughout town. You've got Sirius Cycles down south, Rob and Charlie's kind of in the middle, Bike and Sport closer to the plaza, Mellow Velo over there, much closer to the plaza, and I feel like I missed one. Oh, there's a new bike shop over there in Guadalupe, right? About that one?
Gosh, what's the name of that? I can't think of it. I feel bad for the bike shop because I want to remember the name.
Well, look up a new bike shop over on Guadalupe.
Not Water Street.
Oh, it's on
right
Water
by
Street.
No, sorry. It's right by the Hilton, I think, off Guadalupe. And anyway, yeah.
Well, my point was, for a town our size, 80,000 people, that's a lot of bike shops, because we are such a active community. Santa Fe is known for people who like getting in the outdoors and staying fit and whatnot. So there are a lot of options of bike shops. And I know a big barrier for getting on a bike, whether you're trying to get to work or just to a friend's house or maybe even to the restaurant, can be safety. Got these big trucks around us, cars going real fast. It can be really scary. If someone's saying, they're listening to the show right now and these guys are talking about bikes, but I'd never get on a bike because, it's just not safe. What would you say to that listener?
Yeah, Yeah, it's a good question. I think first, honestly, I'd want to flip that question on its head a little bit and speak to the drivers first. Like there's certainly things that cyclists can do. I got some ideas I can throw out, but we're all drivers as well. Even if you ride a bike, probably 99.5% of us would ever own a car and are drivers too. So, I think the couple things to remember when we're all driving cars, my plea to drivers, self included, is put your phone down, just pay attention and be patient. The time it takes to pass a cyclist on the open road it's not a ton of time out of your day. It's seconds. To just slow down and make sure that you've got the passing distance. If you're biking around town, and you see a bicycle, I've had people get a little confused because around the plaza, you can keep up with traffic. I mean, the speed limits are very, very low in that area. And so just be patient. A lot of times you can go with the flow of traffic. And to cyclists, there's definitely things that we can do. I'd say first, always wear a helmet. Big fan of helmets. You talked about choosing routes. So yeah, choose a route that's got low traffic, or just get on one of the bike paths. Instead of going down West Alameda, just jump on the river trail. Yeah, maybe don't ride your bike down Cerrillos or St. Francis. There's a lot of feeder streets and side streets you can take once you kind of get in the habit of, your route to work, for example. Even if it's a little bit longer, sometimes it might take you a mile out of the way or half a mile, but if it's safer, and you're probably going to hit less stoplights and stop signs. But also, speaking of stop signs, follow all the traffic laws. The better example that we set as cyclists, the fewer drivers can say, well, cyclists never stop at stop signs, which everybody, cars, cyclists, should stop. So follow
Right.
all the traffic laws and be predictable with your riding. If you're trying to make a left turn, you have to cut through traffic. There's some places that can get a little scary. Just look over your shoulder, make sure you got a clear, route, and stick your arm out so people know what you're doing. Lights are another really important thing, especially at night, but even during the day. If you put your lights on, that can help drivers see you. But I wouldn't be afraid to ride around Santa Fe. Generally, it's drivers are pretty good, and if you just are heads up and follow all the rules and take the routes that are a little lower traffic, then you should be okay.
I'm glad you pointed that out about stop signs, because someone listening to the show might be thinking about getting on their bike, but they don't know. Maybe they're going to ride on the sidewalk. Bicycles can be in the road. The road is not made for cars, so you should be in the lane, not on the sidewalk. That can be scary for
Mm-hmm.
pedestrians. And stopping at red lights, just like a car. Um, and it can be a little tough if you need to make a left turn. There are cars coming, but stick out your arm to the left and look behind you and make sure they're yielding to you to get over.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and just be maybe wear a high vis vest. I do that when I go on my rides, just because if someone's looking at their phone, looking at the radio, maybe that'll help them look up, seeing that bright color. Um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, as soon as the most dangerous part is just getting to those trails. We've got the Arroyo Chamisa Trail that people can hop on, the River Trail that connects to Siler now, and then that'll take you all the way down Alameda, all along the river. And the Acequia Trail that's might be a little lesser known, that kind of winds around the neighborhood into the Baca area from the rail yard. Um, that one's a lot of fun over there. And then a lot of, like you were talking about, cut throughs. There's all these little dirt paths through our neighborhoods and whatnot that
Yeah.
you see all over the place, that you can kind of take some shortcuts to get to the trail. So yeah, this has been the monthly Climate Matters City of Santa Fe Sustainability Show. Been joined by Matt Piccarello of Santa Fe Century. We're approaching the end of our 30 minutes. We're on the air every fourth Wednesday on Suave Radio from 8:30 a.m. to 9 a.m. You can also find video recordings of our shows on the City of Santa Fe Environmental Services website. If you liked what you heard today and want to share it with someone, and send them a link, just look us up, City of Santa Fe Environmental Services. Before we wrap, Matt, is there anything else you'd like to share?
Yeah, just check out the Bike Month calendar, and Bike Month starts May 1st, and Also, registration for the Santa Fe Century opens May 1st. So that's breaking news. We haven't put that out yet, but mark that on your calendars, and it's a great way to kick off Bike Month to think about all the cycling you can do in the summer, getting ready for the Century and all those events in May for Bike Month.
Right, you heard it first here. Even if you're not planning on riding all 100 miles, you just want to try it. It can be a lot of fun. So, thanks for joining me today, Matt. We're gonna get back to Suave Radio, and I hope everyone has a great day.